Hey guys. Okay, so today I am going over the geometry lesson, VLA, the virtual learning assignment number 2, which is about solving quadratic equations by factoring. All right, so my question number 1, I asked you to solve the equation. We factored yesterday, and remember I told you it was like the morning, the AM. I wanted the numbers that added to the middle number and multiplied to the last, AM. So I need the two numbers that are both going to multiply to a positive 16, but add up to a negative 8. And the only way I can multiply to a positive number is either if both numbers are positive or if both numbers are negative. Since I need to add to a negative number, they're going to have to be negative. So I have x and x because x was the variable I was using. And the numbers, if you haven't thought of them by now, are negative 4 and negative 4. So negative 4 times a negative 4 gives me a positive 16, but a negative 4 plus a negative 4 is a negative 8. This is where we stopped yesterday, but today we have this equals 0 at the end. So the question is, what does x equal? What does x equal? You remember when we multiply, the only number I can multiply by that will give me a 0 as an answer is 0. So I need to figure out what would make this chunk here 0. What would make this 0? Because if this were 0 behind my hand, then the whole thing is 0, right? So if x minus 4 equals 0, then the whole thing will be 0. So if x minus 4 equals 0, I would just add 4 to solve for x, and I get x equals 4, right? It would be the same thing over here because this is the same exact term, right? Another x minus 4. So your answer is just going to be x equals 4. You don't have to write it twice, although it does count twice. But just x equals 4 is your solution. All right? Number 2, solve the quadratic equation. So this one has a number in the front. And yesterday we learned the whole process for solving when I had a leading coefficient greater than 1, when the number in the front was bigger than 1. Okay, but I did say first thing you wanted to do was look to see if they had anything in common before we went that whole route. I have 5, 15, and 10. Their greatest common factor is 5, right? 5 fits into all of those. So I can take that 5 out. All right, I'm going to take it out, put it outside of the parentheses. Whatever I take out, I'm going to divide each piece by to see what's left inside the parentheses. So because I took out a 5, I'm dividing everything by 5. Whatever number I take out, I'm going to divide each term by, okay? So that would leave me with just the x squared. 15 divided by 5 will leave me with a 3, and that x falls down. And 10 divided by 5 is a 2. All right, now it looks like number 1. Now all I need to do is the add multiply, because I don't have a number in the front anymore. So I just need the numbers that add to 3 but multiply to 2. The numbers that multiply to 2 but add up to 3, I'm thinking, what multiplies to 2? There's really only one way to get 2. Everything is positive, so everything's going to be positive. The numbers are 2 and 1. 2 times 1 makes 2. 2 plus 1 makes 3. This 5 is still out there. However, it doesn't matter much when I am solving because all I care about is what is x. And that 5 is now removed from the x. What the x is next to is the number 2. Now we can set it up like we did over here and say x plus 2 equals 0, or perhaps you've noticed that it's just going to be the opposite. Like what number could x be that would turn this term into a 0? It would be a negative 2, right? It's just the opposite. If I had a negative 2 plus 2, that would make this 0. And what would make this 0? A negative 1. So it's really just going to be x equals, and it's always the opposite of what you see in there. So x equals negative 2, and x equals, the opposite of this one would be a negative 1. The way that it's written on the virtual learning assignment, they just listed on this problem, it'll just be listed negative 2 and 1. Well, negative 2 and negative 1 in my case. All right. The third problem you will notice has a star next to it. So if you are watching this video, be the first to respond with the correct answer to problem number 3. All right, I'll be looking.